What is going on, everybody? Got a bit of a fun video coming at you. This is actually thanks to my dude Lions with a Z. Over 3 months MVP Patreon support. A benefit of that is you get to request a video. So this was actually his request. He likes to troll around with me, but shout out. This was a good request, and I'm really excited to do this. We are going to redraft the 2018 NFL Draft. This is essentially going to be rewinding the clock, but with the knowledge of what we know about these players. So the status of the roster right now, you know, things have changed a lot. We got to think back to what these teams' needs were back in 2018. So if you think I gave your team a player that you don't need now, well, that is why. And just a quick reminder, please do like the video, guys, if you enjoy. It's the easiest way to support the channel and help it grow. So let's get right into it here, starting at number 1 with the Cleveland Browns. I have admitted, some people don't think I have. You just haven't really been watching, I guess. I've admitted I was wrong on Baker Mayfield. I thought this was a terrible pick. I liked Sam Darnold more, and, you know, I'm not going to totally take back everything I said. I still think there's a chance with the right surrounding core that Darnold could end up being the better player than Baker Mayfield, though at this point Baker looks like he is the better quarterback. I did say at the time that Baker will probably be better now than Darnold is, just because he's 3 years older. But Baker Mayfield, clearly the right pick for Cleveland regardless. He has sparked that team. It was a great pick by John Dorsey. I will own up to it. I'm excited to watch this team moving forward. So then number 2, the New York Giants. Obviously here we are going with Sam Darnold. We have done nothing but ridicule this team for taking a running back and not acknowledging the problem in Eli Manning for over a year now. And I laughed about it when they made this pick. Obviously, Saquon's a great player, but Sam Darnold would give this team the quarterback of their future. And just like I said at the time, they're stuck there watching New York, but not their team, the Jets, with their franchise quarterback. Well, they're stuck there with just a really good running back. Next up, we've got the New York Jets. They're going to take Josh Allen. I was always a big Josh Allen guy. I thought this was actually how the draft was going to play out. I just thought Darnold would go 1. I thought Josh Allen was going to be a New York Jet all along. And Allen did show that he can actually produce some offense in sort of a Cam Newton-esque way with his legs. He's got that cannon arm. Now, he's still, you know, there's a chance he could be a bust. It looks like he's at worst going to be a starting caliber quarterback in this league, but he definitely has that upside that a lot of people on draft Twitter were afraid of, and I always thought he was worth a top 5 pick. So the Jets are still going to get a franchise quarterback, still going to leave themselves in decent shape, but more like the Buffalo Bills, where they're not entirely sure in real life if Allen is the future, though they are confident in that right now. Number 4, the Cleveland Browns. This one was pretty easy. We're taking Saquon Barkley. You pair him with Baker Mayfield. You get the 2 best offensive rookies out of this class, at least from an impact perspective. And that offense is just humming. And then maybe down the road you can still do the Odell Beckham trade. Who knows how that ends up shaking up? Probably not, but that's all in a different universe. So in this moment, we're taking Saquon Barkley to give the Browns an elite offensive unit. Number 5, the Denver Broncos. Thought about Quenton Nelson here, but we're actually going to go with Derwin James. You know, they've seen the impact he's made for the Chargers. Denver does need some help in that secondary. They do have Justin Simmons, but he's not really a stud, and they really don't have a true answer at safety other than that. Derwin James, a true impact rookie defensive player, so they're going to take him and try to kind of get that defense back to where they wanted it. And then number 6, Quenton Nelson to the Colts, just like it played out in real life. I mean, it was a perfect pick. He clearly sparked that offensive line to a point that they needed to just buy Andrew Luck more time and to keep him up on his feet. So that was a great pick then, and it's a great pick now. Number 7, Tampa Bay. I thought had the worst pick in the first round last year with Vita Vea. Just, you know, he's a fine player, but a nose tackle in the first round, yeah, he might be able to push the pile a little bit as a pass rusher, but I thought it was just way too early, way out of line considering their needs in the secondary. Could have gone in several different directions. I also thought about a pass rusher here, but in this moment, you got to remember they had just signed a couple big names in free agency. So we're going to take Denzel Ward, the best corner in this class, looking like a future Super superstar playmaker as a corner. Number 8, the Chicago Bears. So they took Roquan Smith to round out that defense. This was actually before they had Khalil Mack. I did think about taking Bradley Chubb here, but I did like their thinking, getting the leader of that defense. However, Roquan Smith proved to actually not be the best middle linebacker in this class. Leighton Vander Esch here for the Cowboys in real life is a stud. I think the best rookie linebacker in a really good group. I think you're splitting hairs, but Vander Esch on that team I think would have meant even more than Roquan Smith, and then maybe they do still make that Khalil Mack trade later on. And then number 9, the San Francisco 49ers. I loved this pick at the time, and we're going to stick with it. Mike McGlinchey. You need that franchise tackle to help protect Jimmy Garoppolo. They still have Joe Staley, but I thought this was an excellent pick. He was the best tackle at the time, the only guy I thought was capable of starting at tackle, and it more or less panned out. There's a couple more guys that, spoilers, will go here in the first, but Mike McGlinchey, a great pick then. So number 10, the Oakland Raiders. We're going to take Darius Leonard here. Again, Roquan Smith, I think the third best linebacker. Not a bad year, but Darius Leonard absolutely stunned people for the Colts. A contender for Defensive Player of the Year, not just Defensive Rookie of the Year. Put up a bunch of stats. So they get just kind of a big, rangy middle linebacker and a great guy, a great leader, something they really need on that defense. Number 11, the Miami Dolphins. This is where Josh Rosen's going to come off the board. I know he had a disappointing season, but you put anybody, that includes Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, on that Arizona team, and they're going to look pretty bad. So Josh Rosen, just like Jared Goff in his rookie year there with the LA Rams, where everyone wrote him off as a bust. And by the way, Jared Goff was my comparison for Josh Rosen going back to my draft board from the time. So the Dolphins get the quarterback of their future, at least to try to build around. Just a quick shameless plug, as I mentioned, that draft board. You can get my 2019 draft board on my Patreon. The link is in the description. Right now we have all of the running backs, wide receivers, edge rushers done, continuing to fill that thing out. So you can get full profiles, impress your friends with your knowledge of the draft. That is on my Patreon again. So let's keep moving. So the number 12, the Buffalo Bills. Unfortunately, no trades in this scenario. They're going to have to figure out the quarterback situation a little bit later. But we're going to take Bradley Chubb here, elite pass rusher, complement to an aging Jerry Hughes there. This is a team that really prides itself on its defense, and getting an elite pass rushing tandem is not a bad consolation prize when you cannot get a quarterback. Number 13, the Washington Redskins. We're going to take Jaire Alexander, just a stud corner. Washington went with a D lineman here. Daron Payne, a nice player, but corner a very big need here for this Redskins team. So we're going to go ahead and grab Jaire Alexander. Then number 14 here, the Green Bay Packers. Going to land Roquan Smith here. They replace or at least push Blake Martinez into a secondary role player situation where he belongs. And Roquan can be that elite cover guy over the middle of the field and a leader of that defense that they really need in the short to intermediate passing game, a great tackler to fill that void. Then number 15, the Arizona Cardinals. Again, would love to land a quarterback, but it's just not the way it's going to play out here. So similar to what we did with Buffalo, we're going to take another great pass rusher here, Harold Landry, a guy I had a top 10 grade on originally. He produced at an excellent level. Does have some injury questions, but you put him on the opposite side of Chandler Jones, and you've really got a lot to work with there defensively, and then maybe you look at Kyler Murray again next year if you do have another train wreck season. So the number 16, the Baltimore Ravens, struggled a little bit here, but we're actually going to go with Nick Chubb. This is a team that clearly wants to run the ball. They paid Mark Ingram, who's a pretty similar player to Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb just a lot younger and cheaper, but they want to play defense, run the ball. I think Nick Chubb could have been a huge impact for that Ravens team this year that while they were a good run game, was kind of lacking that star running back that could have maybe set them over the edge offensively. To a point of being a more legitimate offense, and I don't think they would have missed Lamar Jackson that much. Number 17, the Chargers missing out in this situation on the just pure luck of having Derwin James fall to them. But at least we have hindsight to take one of the biggest breakout sleepers from this class, Deshaun Hand, out of Alabama. The Chargers got just absolutely ravaged in the run game against the Patriots in the playoffs. Deshaun Hand, a guy that can play the run, play the pass, and would have been a great force even if they missed out on Derwin James. Seattle Seahawks at number 18. They're going to take Minkah Fitzpatrick. Minkah actually low-key had a very disappointing season there in Miami. I know he wasn't surrounded by talent, but it wasn't a bad defense by any means. He's just a bit of a tweener. He's a nickel corner, a strong safety. They tried him a bit at outside corner. It didn't quite work. Now in Seattle, this is a team that loves the type of player Minkah Fitzpatrick is. He flies the football, he tackles well, he's a bigger defensive back. I think the scheme fit can make you overlook the fact that Minkah Fitzpatrick, frankly, did not play like a first rounder last year, though he does still have the upside, I think. Number 19, Dallas. We're going to take Dallas Goedert here. So it's not just a pun. This actually, I think, would have been an excellent fit for this offense. They're missing out on Leighton Vander Esch here, but Dallas Goedert, really the only tight end in this class that's a good blocker and a great receiver. He's probably the best blocker and the best receiver of all of the tight ends, and you get it both in one. And we know Dak Prescott, not exactly a deep threat kind of guy. You get him a guy that's going to help in the play action game, help you run the ball a little better. I think this could actually have been a spark for this offense that they really were missing, and I can't remember if he would have been there in the second round or not. But definitely missed out there, letting Philly get hands on a really exciting young tight end. Then at pick number 20, we've got the Detroit Lions. We're actually going to go offense here. They did have Golden Tate at the time, but clearly they were not invested in him long term. This team really does lack offensive playmakers, as we saw with hindsight. I do love Kenny Golladay, but without an elite kind of catch and run guy, and I know they had Golden Tate at the time, but like I said, not invested in him long term. So we're going to go DJ Moore, who honestly to me, and this might sound a little overstated, but he might be the best run after catch receiver I have ever seen. He, let's just say, breaks the first tackle more often than not. He is the most powerful runner I've ever seen at wide receiver. So they get an elite offensive weapon there to be a really good complement to Kenny Golladay and give Matthew Stafford a little more to work with there. 21, the Cincinnati Bengals. They took a center here last year. Well, we're going to actually take the guy they took in the second round, Jesse Bates. Because in this situation, he would not have been there in the second round. He's an impact center fielder. There's not a whole lot of those to go around these days. He is, pretty similar to like Malik Hooker in that he is just short of Earl Thomas being one of the most rangy center fielders in the NFL, and a great fit for Cincinnati, and they would be really bummed to not have him heading into this year. Number 22, the Buffalo Bills. We're going to take Braden Smith, beef up that offensive line. They missed out on a quarterback, but they did get Bradley Chubb. So now you get a guy who can play guard, can play tackle, start to beef up that unit to hopefully take a quarterback in the next season. Number 23, the New England Patriots. Isaiah Wynn, yet again. Now I know he got hurt. We rewind the clock where he was not hurt. I thought this was a pretty solid pick. A lot of, high praise for Isaiah Wynn and what he showed before the ACL injury, even though it was before the season started. I think they would do it all over again if they could, and he's going to start at left tackle this year, and who knows, he could end up being the best tackle in this class when all is said and done. Number 24, the Carolina Panthers. We're going to take Justin Reed. Now, I couldn't remember if they had Eric Reed by the time this draft happened. I don't think they did. I think it was after his brother. But Carolina really struggled in the secondary last year, specifically at the safety position. Justin Reed was one of the guys that I was stunned fell outside of the top 40. He fell all the way to the third round of the Houston Texans. Was their first pick in the draft after trading up for Deshaun Watson, and they nailed it getting a first-round talent here in Justin Reed. It was a first-round grade for me all along. So Carolina gets a guy who can play free safety. Hell, he can play outside corner, strong safety, nickel corner, but probably would be a free safety for Carolina. is just a great player. Number 25, the Tennessee Titans. So they took Rashaan Evans last year. Didn't quite help out in coverage as much as they had hoped. They had some linebackers that could help in the run, but they were really hoping for a guy that can be rangy and bring a little speed to the second level of that defense. So we're going to take Jerome Baker instead of Rashaan Evans. Baker had an excellent year for Miami. Reminds me a good bit of Telvin Smith there in Jacksonville. Just, undersized, not going to be a great run defender, but just elite pass coverage from a linebacker, and really did not disappoint as a rookie. So Tennessee's going to grab him. Pick number 26, the Atlanta Falcons. We're going to go with Daron Payne here out of Alabama. Next to Grady Jarrett, they don't really have a physical force. Daron Payne, a little bit of a bigger, thicker guy, can be more of a physical force, whereas, Grady Jarrett is a force, don't get me wrong, but I think of him as a smaller, pass-rushing, speedy guy. He's not bad against the run by any means, but this would be a great compliment there to Grady Jarrett up front and give you two guys to really build that defense around for the future. Number 27, the New Orleans Saints. We're going to take Dante Pettis, a bit of a surprise, and this was one of 5 or 6 big misses for me. Obviously, Baker being one of them. Leighton Vander Esch was another one. But Dante Pettis, in terms of round grade, was my biggest miss. I had a 5th round grade on Dante Pettis. A little bit of that was injury concern, and you are still worried about that. He did get hurt for the 49ers. He's a very slender guy, so that was at least a legitimate concern. But as a route runner, this guy is elite, in terms of separation. He works great in this kind of option passing offense. It's fairly similar here in New Orleans as it is with San Francisco, with Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan. I think New Orleans, I know they had a pretty flashy offense, but there was actually times, and this is going to sound weird, but they were a little underwhelming at times when Michael Thomas couldn't get open. They really kind of needed that second receiving threat, and when Ted Ginn was hurt, Dante Pettis could have been that guy. It took Marcus Davenport, who really didn't ever really even win that starting job, out. So I think Dante Pettis could have made a bigger impact for this team last year. He did go 44th in the real draft, so it's not that crazy to say him here. I do expect, though, this might be the one on this list that gets the most pushback. Pick number 28 here, the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to take Tremaine Edmonds instead of Terrell Edmonds, who they took last year, his brother. Now, Tremaine actually had a bit of a disappointing season compared to some of these other rookie linebackers that went early in this class. Didn't have a bad year by any means, just didn't really, shine. But he is only 20 years old. I think the brighter days are ahead, and this gives them kind of that athletic cover run defending guy that they've been missing since the tragic Ryan Shazier injury. Number 29, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Kind of struggled with this pick, and I think honestly at like 24, after the Justin Reed pick, I think as a cutoff in true first-round talents, really good players, but it did get a little harder after that point. So we're going to take Will Hernandez here for Jacksonville. I thought actually about Lamar Jackson, but you're really just not getting the quarterback of the future, though you would be upgrading from what they had in Blake Bortles. But Will Hernandez is going to help be just that physical beast up front, be a complement in the run game to Leonard Fournette, as far as what this team wanted to do at the time, which was run the ball, play defense. I thought that would have been a better pick for them than Taven Bryan, who was a wasted pick in terms of impact last season. He just didn't get on the field much. So then at number 30, the Minnesota Vikings are going to take Brian O'Neill again. They took him in the 2nd round. The fact of the matter is, offensive linemen, you just can't find them. You really can. After this, there's really no one else you're comfortable other than the centers who were just kind of okay. There's no guards or tackles left that you're comfortable starting, and this was a nightmare for Minnesota. If they didn't have Brian O'Neill last year, it could have looked even worse, and they would not be able to get him with the second pick with their 2nd round pick in this situation. So they're going to have to take Brian O'Neill. Not a true first-round talent, but just kind of a desperate need for them, and he was a really good pass protector as a rookie and has some athletic upside. Number 31, the New England Patriots. They're going to take Mark Andrews here, tight end out of Oklahoma, was the 2nd best tight end in this class. Needs to improve as a blocker, but a really solid receiving threat. It does seem that their worries that Gronk would retire early were true and warranted, so they're going to get the replacement there. And then number 32, Philadelphia Eagles. They're going to grab Kerryon Johnson here. They actually traded out of this pick. And this team was pretty loaded at the time. It's a bit of a luxury pick, but Kerryon, I think, in that offense, with his ability to not just run between the tackles, but run the outside zone, catch the ball, be an elite receiving threat, I think he would have been an excellent piece for the Eagles. So that is going to do it. We had a bunch of players not get drafted in the first round, so call them busts or call them reaches. Either way, we've got Vita Vea, nose tackle for the Bucks, Marcus Davenport, the edge for the Saints, Colton Miller, tackle for the Raiders, Frank Ragnow, a center guard for Detroit, Billy Price, a center for the Bengals, Rashaan Evans for the Titans, a linebacker, Hayden Hurst, a tight end for Baltimore, Ridley, wide receiver for the Falcons, a nice player, just didn't quite crack my top 32. Rashad Penny, really good running back. Terrell Edmonds, a total reach. I had a 5th round grade on. Don't know why the Steelers took him as early as they did. Taven Bryan, a nice player, would not last long in the 2nd round. Mike Hughes did suffer an injury, may have snuck in late first there if he never did, but he wasn't great a corner for the Vikings before he got hurt. Then we got Sony Michel, fine player, running back for the Patriots, and of course Lamar Jackson, I imagine, would go pretty early in the 2nd round. So that is gonna do it. If you enjoyed the video, guys, please do hit that like button. That's all I'm gonna ask. It's the easiest way to support this channel, help this video spread, and help the channel grow. So cheers as always, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.